All right, so this is the quadratic formula, and we're going to use this to solve the equation y equals x squared plus 5x minus 6 using a, b, and c. So what I always evaluate first is this part under the radical, which is called the discriminant. So we're going to start with b squared minus 4ac, which would be 5 squared minus 4 times 1 times negative 6, which is 25 plus 24, which is 49. Then that is under the square root sign, so we're going to put that under the square root, plus or minus. Negative b would be negative 5 over 2a. And here we have radical 49 is 7. So we have negative 5 plus or minus 7 over 2 times 1 is 2. And at this point, we need to split our plus or minus because we need to do this top piece, parentheses minus, before we divide. So negative 5 plus 7 is positive 2 divided by 2 is 1. Negative 5 minus 7 is negative 12 divided by 2 is negative 6. So our final answer is x equals 1 and negative 6. And if you want to check your work, you can plug these back in for x. You would plug 1 in for both x's, and you should get 0. Negative 6 in for both x's, and you should get 0 as well. All right, so now we're going to do one that's not going to turn out as nice and neat as that one. Y equals 4x squared plus 4x minus 7. Using the same formula. Negative b plus or minus b squared minus 4ac. If you don't already have that memorized, you need to make sure you memorize it. And we have a is 4, b is 4, and c is negative 7. I'm going to first do the discriminant, b squared minus 4ac. And we get 4 squared minus 4 times 4 times negative 7 gives us 128. And now we do put the whole thing together. Negative b would be negative 4 plus or minus the square root of 128 over 2a, which would be 2 times 4. Now the square root of 128, when you type that into your calculator, you get 11.31 and more decimals after that. We want it to be exact, so we actually need to keep it as radical 128 and simplify it, meaning we're trying to find a perfect square factor that is a multiple of 128, and you find that you can break this down into 64 and 2, and we picked 64 because it's the biggest perfect square. 16 will also factor out of this, but 64 is the biggest perfect square, which would be 8 times 8. So we can take the 64 out since it's a perfect square. When it comes out, it becomes 8, and then we have our 2 left on the inside. So now we can rewrite this as negative 4 plus or minus 8 radical 2 over 8. And now we can simplify this since we have two fractions here. This is negative 4 over 8 plus or minus 8 radical 2 over 8. And negative 4 over 8 simplifies to negative 1/2 plus or minus 8 radical 2 would simplify over 8 would just simplify to radical 2. Now, some places will want you to split it. So for example, Math Excel will make you split it into this form. And in class, we would actually keep this as one thing and just reduce here. So you would get negative 1 plus or minus 2 radical 2 over 2. So we would simplify this to 1/2, and this to 8 over 8 would be 2 over 2. So there's different ways that you can simplify it. Math Excel will want you to simplify it this way. In class on a multiple choice test, you might see it simplified this way.